you've turned on the news lately, you've heard that the real estate market is making a dramatic change and prices are dropping and interest rates are rising. This can only mean that the real estate market is headed for a crash, right? Well, not so fast. Many people are wondering if they should wait to buy a home and what it's really like to buy a home right now. Hi, I'm Sarah Maslowski with KeyPoint Homes Group, a real estate team here in the North Metro Atlanta area, helping people just like you relocate here and call the area home. Many people have the opinion that the market is in shambles and people like myself are just here to make money and we don't care whether or not it's a good time or buy, and well, that's just simply not the case. We hear people say, I'm gonna wait for things to crash and then I'll buy my next home. Well, economists are simply not predicting that we will have a market crash. So yes, prices have fallen and we're seeing more and more price drops on listings, but this is because so many sellers were thinking that they could get that sky-high price on their home that their neighbor sold for a year ago or even 6-8 months ago. And those houses were grossly priced to begin with, and back then, well, we had so much demand that people were willing to pay those prices and people were getting into bidding wars and it was just pushing that price up. So it's no wonder that sellers are a little bit confused, right? They think their house was worth what their neighbor sold it for 6 months ago. And so a lot of the price decreases that we're seeing right now are from these overzealous sellers thinking they can still get that price, or worse yet, it's from real estate agents that are not giving the best advice to their sellers, either because they're not interpreting the market data or they're just simply don't know. We hear the headlines that home prices are dropping dramatically, but in reality, prices are beginning to stabilize and return to a normal level of annual appreciation. They're not slipping down to the levels of how they were in the beginning of the pandemic when all of the craziness began, or heck, even lower than what they were a year ago. Home prices are still up year over year. Take a look at popular Alpharetta. We just made a video about that, so check that out. In October of 2022, home prices were up 15% compared to October of last year. And then when you look at Swanee, it's largely the same. They're up almost 16% compared to last year. And then you have Gainesville. They were only up 3% in October, but go back to look at September, they were up 22%. And you have to keep in mind that normal annual appreciation is between 4 to 6%. Those are all still drastically higher than that. So home prices are still more expensive than they were in 2021, despite the fact that interest rates are substantially higher than what they were 2 years ago. So what is different about this current market? Well, people are no longer having to pay those crazy amounts of money over asking price that we just talked about. They're also not having to waive appraisal or financing contingencies, and they're not also having to name their firstborn after the seller, or the combination of all of those things. There was a time when essentially every home sold for over asking price, and not just by a little. I'm talking a lot. Many people paid $50,000 to $100,000 over asking price in the most competitive areas. And for me as a real estate agent, it was also a little bit disheartening for people who simply could not afford or have the means to do that. It was especially painful for first-time home buyers. You gotta think of it, a lot of first-time home buyers just don't simply have the ability to do that. There was a time when it was absolutely rare for us to write an offer on a home that was not over asking price. That's how crazy the market got. Or we would see a home and call the listing agent to let them know that we're gonna put together that offer, and they would tell us, yeah, we're already under contract, or what's your offer? Oh, ha ha ha, we have a much better one already, don't even bother wasting your time. It happened a lot. Now that things have settled, we have people making offers under listing price that are getting accepted. This was not the reality a year ago, so this has been a huge help to buyers who weren't able to buy over the last 2 years because they just couldn't compete. Their moment has finally come and they are able to spend some time looking at houses and dissecting their options and choosing the very best one. They're having an opportunity to discuss things with their lender and make an offer that financially makes sense to them and their family. There are also significantly more homes on the market right now than there have been in the past 2 years. So if you look at this graph of the actual homes for sale in our local MLS system, there are 43.5% more homes for sale right now than there were this time last year. There's so many more homes to choose from, and the demand has slowed a little bit because of that increase interest rates. The average days on market for these homes has gone up to a staggering 87.5% more, which means you actually have time to go out and look at the properties and make time making that decision, and you're not just having to like jump in the car, seeing the very first house, yes, we love it, let's put on an offer. You have some time to see all the houses that day. So there are many conditions for buyers that are so much better than they were a year ago, even with interest rates currently hovering around 6.8% at the time of filming this video. We are seeing sellers pay for closing costs or even paying down buyers' rates, and buyers also have more room in negotiations to make their home purchase more affordable. Now, that's not to say that you can simply come in here and like drastically get a discount on a price for a house. These are things that we'll talk about, and we'll go over the data and we'll look at exactly what is happening in the market to make sure that we're positioning you as a buyer in the very best position, but also being realistic with what's happening in the market. So sellers are cooperating with buyers, and often now after showing houses, like we as a buyer's agent, we're getting that call that says, hey, you just left the house, or you showed the house yesterday, how did it go? How can we help your buyers get into this house? Y'all, that did not happen even 6 months ago. So this has been a drastic change back to a normal market. A year and a half ago, we could barely get listing agents to even answer their phone after showing a house, much less have them reach out proactively to us. So now on the buying side, we're getting calls from agents who want that feedback on their listings and they want to get it sold. They want those offers. So what does this mean for you as a potential buyer who's thinking about buying a house right now? One, you are going to have more time to do your home search, but keep in mind that any market, the absolute best houses, the ones that are winning both that beauty competition and price competition, those are going to go very, very fast. Number two thing that you need to know is that although your interest rate is going to be higher right now than what it was 6 months ago, some of that is kind of offset by not having to pay that over asking price, and we can negotiate some really great things that are going to help your monthly payment. Like I mentioned earlier, we're getting those sellers to cover those rate buy downs, which are having a huge impact on those monthly payments. The third thing that you need to know is that you are going to have more homes to choose from because inventory is up, which means you as a buyer have more options. In fact, some of the best deals right now can be found in new construction. These builders want to get these homes off their books ASAP. You get the ability to not only get a decent price on a new construction home right now, but a lot of these builders are also doing rate buy downs and they're doing closing costs. So they're covering a lot of different scenarios there that's going to help your bottom line. So a large part of all of this advice is kind of centered around where you're buying and what your price point is, which is why it's so important that if you haven't reached out to us today to schedule your complimentary buyer strategy session so we can kind of personalize this advice for you, you have to do that. You can find our information below this video. So what are you waiting for? For additional advice and information on what to do whenever you're buying a home here in Georgia, you have to check out this video.